Okay, let's do question 3, which is a bit more serious, 5 marker. So what it's asking you to do is solve these two simultaneous equations. So you've got x squared plus y squared equals 34, and you've got 3x minus y plus 4 equals 0. So you've normally got two ways of doing simultaneous equations. You can do that thing where you get the same number of x's or y's, and then you like take one equation away from the other, and yeah, that method. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But you can't do that here because you've got this equation which has squares in it. So basically that's not going to work for you. So you're going to have to do it by substitution, which to be honest is my preferred method anyway, because you can just smash through the algebra and kind of power the answer out at the end. So always go for the path of least resistance, or like the easiest way basically. So you're not going to try and like square root this and then substitute it into here. That would just be really difficult. So what we're going to do is rearrange this one and substitute it into there. Again, go for the easiest option. So you could try and arrange it so that you get x equal, express x in terms of y. But if you do that, you're going to end up with something all divided by 3, and it's just going to be messier and harder. So the easier way is to take the y over to the other side. So just rearrange it and say that you get 3x plus 4 equals y. So now you've got y in terms of x with minimal effort, which is what we want. So now we know what y is in terms of x, we need to sub it into here. So that's going to give us x squared plus, we now know that y equals 3x plus 4. So 3x plus 4 all squared, because y is squared, equals 34. So now we need to expand out the brackets in this middle section. So we've got x squared plus 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4. As you know, I like to write it out so I can see what I'm doing. And that equals 34. So times these two bits together and we get x squared plus 3x times 3x is 9x squared. This 3x times the 4 is plus 12x. 4 times the 3x is another 12x. And 4 times 4 is 16. So plus 16 at the end. And that all equals 34. So now we just want to add together the terms that are in the same power of x. So x squared plus 9x squared is going to give us 10x squared. 12x plus 12x gives us 24x. And then where this is going is a quadratic equation, which we know how to solve. So what we're going to do is take away 34 from each side. 16 take away 34 is the minus 18. So that's going to be minus 18. And that will equal 0. And yeah, what you've got there, you should recognise the quadratic equation, which we know how to solve, which is good. I would start by dividing the whole thing by 2 because it just makes it simpler. As you can see, each of these terms has 2 as a factor, and 0 divided by 2 is still just 0, so you can do that. So dividing each one by 2, you get 5x squared plus 12x minus 9 equals 0. And then if we write out our brackets, we're going to have a 5x in one and an x in the other. That's because that's the only way you can get the 5x squared. You've got 5x times x. If you were to, do the reverse and multiply it out. And then hopefully it's well drilled into you. What we need to look for is two numbers that multiply together to give minus 9 and add together to get 12, taking this 5 into account. So the factors of minus 9, we could have minus 9 and 1, we could have 9 and -1, or we could have -3 and 3. They're the only options we've got. So you kind of just have to look at it and figure it out basically, or you can try each pair if you're really stuck, but hopefully it will be just quite easy to spot. So here, if we do 5 times 3, then we get 15, and then take away another 3 gets us our 12. So because we want the +3 to be times by the 5, we put that in this bracket, and then the -3 goes in here. So if you were to expand that out, you would get that. So now we want to solve the actual quadratic, so find out what values of x would make this whole thing equal 0. So we'll start with this bracket 'cause it's easier. For this whole thing to be 0, x would have to be -3, because then you'd have -3 plus 3, which equals 0. So x could be -3 with this bracket. Or here in this bracket, for this first one to equal 0, x would have to equal 3 over 5. And that's because if we just quickly do that, if you do 5 times 3 over 5, the 5's cancel out because you're timesing and dividing by 5, so you'll just get 3. So that would equal 3, and then you're minusing 3, so the whole thing would equal 0. So we've got our values of x. Now that's all that's left to do is plug them back into this equation here and work out the corresponding values of y. So again, go for the easiest thing to do. Don't go trying to plug it into there and work it out, because it's just going to be horrible. Plug it into this nice, easy, simple thing. So when x equals -3, y is going to equal 3 times -3 plus 4. So 3 times -3 is -9, so that's -9 plus 4, which is going to give us -5. And when x equals 3/5, again just plug it in, so y is going to equal 3 times 3 over 5 plus 4, which equals 9 over 5 plus 4. You've got a little bit more work to do here because you can't just leave it like that, you need like a single value. So we write this 4, instead of a 4, you want to write it as something over 5. So 20 divided by 5 equals 4. So you can write this as 9 over 5 plus 20 over 5. That's just because 20 divided by 5 equals 4, so those are the same thing. Add them together and you get 29 over 5. So those are your answers for y. So you've got x can equal -3 or 3/5, and y either equals -5 or 29 over 5. And that's that.